Okay, I mean,
And now we are live.
Yeah,
okay, I'm just curious how the new display is.
when you're playing Angry Birds, it really doesn't matter.
Oh, right. As far as movies go, have you guys tried to watch a movie?
Nah, no.
No, it's just glittering everything.
Is that the regular? Yeah. We're waiting
When
for
is
the
our
sports
show?
byline guy. LA Dodgers show.
So Broadway Bound's doing Bye Bye Birdie. Bollocks.
Can you say balls? I can say balls. Balls. But that's my name, so...
Right.
Do they know that we're doing a show? Probably not, huh?
No. I mean, I can't... Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could just break into there to let them
We're
know.
probably gonna have to just wait for a break and then...
Yeah, I'm gonna probably just turn on the music at 2 minutes till... and turn it up slowly, and that's one way for me to just...
Crossfade.
Yeah.
You don't want to piss the LA Dodgers talk show guy off. From theater.
Why are the Dodgers doing well in Vegas?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
They have a good...
Are the Dodgers
I'd
doing...
rather you
I
not
guess they
break
have a loyal
yourself.
following from what I understand. Over here.
Last thing I need is a house to fall in.
Closing night of Camp Ticklebees.
Did you rip your costume?
Okay, yeah,
What costume?
The green one.
No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Apparently that's what I like.
Ripped.
I didn't do that. That's where the zipper is.
No, I zipped it up and it's like all here is
That
a
might have
hole.
been there beforehand because I promised I didn't do that.
I'm gonna say the glass is half full. I'm gonna say come out.
Okay, that dress was
That
hard
we saw you
to
rip.
carry around.
That one you couldn't deny.
When
I
we
saw
were
you
running
rip that
around
one.
Backstage, I was like, this.
Well, no, it was closing night when we were taking a picture and you ripped it on the railing. Going up on stage. No, for the witch.
Oh.
That one. She got ripped
It was
over.
closing night. And I was just like,
Well, you were a mess anyway, so.
it was such a mess. That was my worst thing.
Oh, yeah. That was clearly your worst. That will be for me, Michael. No,
Phenomenal talent, one of the best hitters in the league. I don't care what he did over at Boston. But I will say this about Josh Beckett. If he loses tomorrow, Dodgers, if he looks terrible, if he looks terrible for the rest of the year.
They use a bat.
They have these wickets, and then there's
They
the
chase
bowler.
like this flying little thing.
No, it's Quidditch.
Oh,
That's Quidditch. It's not even a real game.
And when he comes back, he'll be even better. Right now,
But anyways, in baseball they have bludgers and chasers.
Look at your lineup. And that's what this trade is about. So Dodgers fans, if Beckett does anything good, he's going to be
Isn't that gross? It's just brown
on the
paint.
top of the cake here. If he
Yes.
doesn't do
Isn't that
anything,
exciting?
Don't worry. No big
You can
deal.
even hold the...
It really
I tried.
Yeah, but I'm zooming in and out right now
Oh, how
When you turn
awesome.
tan.
on all your faces.
I know.
I got most of it up, but they're like, white spots on it. I was like,
I called Marcy at 7 o'clock or 7:30 this morning to ask her about tomorrow. She
And
goes,
now they get off
well,
to
did you do the radio
Colorado.
show this morning? I said, it's
We'll be
7:30
out
in the
at
morning.
Yeah,
the
that's what
she goes, did you do it? How was it? I said,
And then God created Saturn, and he liked it.
I don't get
So
up from anybody that early.
And I know it's coming up on the 5th of this month. So, buddy, you and I we got a game to do on Tuesday.
I missed the Niners game today.
I'm looking forward to working with you then. Should be a good one. All right. Well, I want to
We're sitting
I want
right
to
in front of
say
each
some
other.
very special thanks to the folks over here at Rantown Kitchen, even though they knocked me off the air.
Alex
But,
is
in all
the
reality,
stage management
glad we
intern
got
for the
to
national
the
tour of the
show.
Broadway production
Hey, I
of
want to
Wicked.
thank Chris Contact and the AM
Alex?
1400 studio.
Our stage manager
Tom
from
Martin-
Joseph
Tom Martin
is an intern
Sports.com.
for
Check
Wicked
out his
at the Smith
website.
Center.
Nice.
Stage
He is
management.
winning right now. And again, don't
Is
forget,
that
we'll
good?
be on tomorrow immediately
Huh?
following
Is
the
that a good
Dodger
thing?
game.
For her?
Have a good
Oh,
night,
okay.
everybody. Thanks for listening in.
Not for them.
It's fine.
What'd you guys think of
Yeah.
Akash?
That's
I wish George Hamilton weren't in it.
Thank God. Thank you. I could not stand him.
He dragged the whole thing down. Jason,
Yep.
did he do a fair job for his age? Yes.
Sure.
Play a spot first, and we start the recorder, and then...
Well, I hope all of you guys have your number 2 pencils and your brand new box of Crayola crayons. It's back to school, baby. Yeah. It's Curtain Call with Erik Ball.
I got my paste.
Hey, welcome to Curtain Call. This is Erik Ball. With me, as always, is Glenn Heath.
How are you?
And yeah, we're kind of here in the KSHP studios, 6 to 8 p.m. every Sunday. So you should tune in and listen to all the talk about community theater here in Las Vegas. We also have a really neat app on your iPhone that I'm trying to really kind of get everybody to love. I want them to love the app.
You can like it on Facebook.
I want them to like us on Facebook. And so anyways, you go to the App Store on your iPhone, type in KSHP, and you can listen to this show and every show on KSHP live from your phone. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, unless you're waiting around for the iPhone 5, then I guess you could argue. Anyways, welcome to the show. We are missing Miss Carrie Ann this week. I'm sure she's listening because she better be listening. That's all I've got to say.
Because there's a quiz, Carrie Ann.
There will be. There's a test later. Speaking of tests, back to school, my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow, all you kiddies, you better get to bed early and make sure you have a fancy, good breakfast tomorrow so you can learn lots and lots.
That's how you speak to your high school drama
That's
teacher.
what I do. I was like, today we're going to learn about pathos. It's like,
Everyone get out your scripts.
today we're going to tackle importance of being earnest. Everybody. What am I doing? Anyways,
that's what the Board of Education is wondering right now.
That's Faith Lutheran's like, no, he's really a good teacher. He just talks baby talk when he needs something.
He's only like that when he's high.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, well, welcome to the show, and Glenn Heath is here, having just jumped off of the Stratosphere Tower.
Yeah, I still have the cords attached. They didn't cut the cords for me.
I saw on Facebook.com this big picture saying, yes, I just jumped off the Stratosphere Tower with my daughter. It's her birthday. And I was trying to piece all that together. I was like, first I jumped off the Stratosphere Tower with my daughter. Happy birthday.
Well, they don't let you go in tandem, so she went first, as it was, it was her idea. And of course, I'm always encouraging my child to, go ahead, ask for whatever you want. You just might get it.
Nice.
But it was fun. It's a bit expensive, but we got her the video
So it's like
package.
a zip line? You just zip?
It's kind of a zip line. It's not really a free fall. It's 855 feet that you fall in roughly 15 seconds. So the initial I'm falling hits, and then it kind of grabs the line.
Get any birds on the way down?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because you know what you'd have to say to those birds?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, birdie.
Wow.
Now that is a transition.
Yes, it is a transition.
Now that is a transition. I say that because...
You know what? With lines like that, you could be Broadway bound.
Oh, Lord. In the studio today is Broadway Bound, Summerlin Dance Academy's theater program, Broadway Bound, and we have cast member Brooke Solon from the upcoming musical Bye Bye Birdie, and director of the whole program and this production, Michael Voivodich. Welcome.
And he's vomiting in his mouth.
Yeah, I know. He loves the jokes. Welcome, guys. And we're talking about this musical now. How many musicals does Broadway Bound do a year?
We do about 2 a year.
2 a year. And this is, if you've seen past shows, there was Into the Woods, there was Thoroughly Modern Millie, there was Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
And I'm saying this only, I'm going to take my seat as a patron for a second. And this is a great program. They do quality work and involves kids everywhere from, there was like 6 and 7 year olds all the way up to high schoolers.
Yeah.
And they're great productions because I argue that any youth theater that really kind of focuses in on the mentoring, giving kids the opportunities to learn from one another and kind of create together. It's a great program, and that's what Broadway Bound's all about. And so I'm thrilled that you guys are here today, so we can talk a little bit about this. And so tell me a little bit about Bye Bye Birdie in general, like the show. For those of you who've never seen Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah, because I've never seen the show, and I only knew about Broadway Bound from last summer, so...
Well, the show's basically about he's a young rocker dude. Takes place in the 50s, and he's been drafted to the war, and so his agent manager, music manager, I guess, sets up this marketing ploy to have him kiss this random girl in a random city in a random state, and put him on the Ed Sullivan Show and do it as kind of his farewell.
Kind of like publicity stunt.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it really is a publicity stunt. It kind of goes wrong. So.
Oh, we should have done that. We should have had like the student who played Birdie on this show and picked a random girl out in the parking lot.
Right.
made
Those
him-
aren't random girls; they're
We
working girls.
No,
Yeah.
Are they?
This is Las Vegas.
Well,
I've been
the two of them that I spoke to are.
because I've been very nice to these people out here, and they've waved. I don't know.
That's how it works.
Okay.
That's how it starts.
Maybe I'm just naive.
Starts with a simple wave, and
Maybe
then
I'm just
the
naive.
next thing
I
you
don't
know,
know.
it's a ham sandwich.
Then a tap on your window.
The ones by 7-Eleven, even.
No, the ones that work in 7-Eleven.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, so and it's a comedy. Talk about.
Unlike this show.
Talk about like a tried and true musical though. This is one of those shows that technically, if you want to take a look at the history books, this is one that's often done by high schools.
Yeah.
What is the appeal? I mean, why do people are attracted to this particular show?
Well, I think a lot of kids, and it was a good choice for us to do with our kids because they can relate to it.
Yeah.
You know, they've got. I mean, nowadays they got what, Justin Bieber.
Right, the teen idol.
Back then they had Conrad Birdie. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and I have always said that it's kind of difficult. It's not difficult. I mean, you can throw a pair of pig ears and a piggy squirrely tail on the back of any costume and say, okay, be a pig, and anybody can go oink oink and run across the stage. And it's different. It's a different type of theater when you're asking somebody to transform into a character that is their type.
Yes.
That is extremely their type.
Yes.
You know, and so this is one of those shows that will really kind of give this. Now, Brooke. Now, what role do you play in this?
I play Rosie Alvarez.
Alvarez.
Not Alvarez. Albert's mom calls her Alvarez because she doesn't like her because she's Spanish. And she doesn't want him to marry someone Spanish.
So it's a period
That's
piece.
the, yes.
Fair enough.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure.
And you are keeping it traditional with the time.
1950s.
Yeah, because modernizing it.
Ooh, that's actually interesting.
Oprah?
Not by.
It's interesting because in the second hour of the show we're going to be talking.
Well, yeah,
about
that's what. See, that's how you segue
No,
things.
Right.
the Birdie transition was gold. All right,
Gold birdie.
That's all I got to say.
I wish that were all you had to say.
If you're just now tuning in, we're talking with Brooke Solon, who's cast member of Bye Bye Birdie over at Broadway Bound, and the creative director and director of the whole program over at Summerlin Dance Academy, Michael Vojvodich. We're talking about Bye Bye Birdie, the musical that's happening August 31st through September 8th, so it's just around the corner. Next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Starting school and starting Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah,
Have
how
fun
do you
with
do
that.
Tech Week during the first week of classes?
No, right. I'm more focused on Bye Bye Birdie, to be honest.
Nice.
I
No,
got all
I,
my school supplies
There
today.
you go,
I was
yeah.
like, should probably do that.
I need one of those green
Tomorrow.
see-through rulers now. Stat. It's so funny how we get so crazy about back to school.
Have you ever used a see-through ruler?
See, that's what I'm talking about. You wind up getting all this stuff that you never
Yeah.
use. It sits in your bag, or you know, or you are so particular about bringing your lunch the first day, and you throw your backpack in the corner, and you smash it, and it's like, you know, it's like you don't even think about it. It's crazy. I have this hippo eraser that's awesome. Though. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, you've got a different experience. I mean, you got to go teach tomorrow. I got to go deal with professors and individuals that have been gone all summer, and then remember all of a sudden that they need technology on the first day of school, and didn't request it 3 months ago when I could have prepped things. And
For
so
those of you who don't know, he works over at the Henderson
CSN.
Henderson CSN IT department, so he's Mr. Computers. I had a former former student of mine say, "Oh, don't worry about it, Mr. Ball. The first day of class, all you do is pass out syllabi and talk them to death." And I was like, "True, Dad, true, Dad." So I'm not going to worry about tomorrow so much. I'm actually.
And all of those Faith Lutheran students listening tonight, enjoy tomorrow with Erik.
And can I say that usually getting back into the saddle with things a routine, just kind of a routine. It's kind of, for me, it's refreshing. So, and you've done several shows with Broadway Bound, Brooke. I'm kind of getting in, looking forward in the anticipation to opening night and kind of getting everything around. Is it comfortable? Is it comforting, or do you still get those butterflies as you approach?
It is. Like, the week before, I'm usually just very excited, but, like, when the day gets there, I usually get nervous. And especially with this one, because I dance a lot, and I've never danced this much in a show. So I'm nervous, but excited.
Spreading your wings. We're going to have a lot of
Yes.
Birdie references this night.
Oh, joy.
So that's good, and so the dancing's obviously well, and it's a dancing musical. This is kind of akin to like Hairspray or you know, this is that type of musical where it's very up, very bright, very vibrant songs and dialogue, peppy. If you haven't seen anything from Broadway Bound, they really cater to a very eclectic demographic of kids that really kind of put a lot of energy into these programs. So.
Well, I've got a question then, Mike. How do kids get involved with this?
The Broadway Bound is run through Studio One Summerlin Dance Academy up on the corner of Buffalo and Charleston, and ages 5 to 18, it's basically just a class.
Okay.
You sign up for class. It's an hour a week, and then you're allowed to, if you're in the class, you can audition for the shows, and we pick.
A lot of dance studios are doing that now. I've noticed, and you know, having friends in Chicago and a few people who are going to school in LA, it's similar there too. Like the dance studios are kind of adopting this new way of because if you think about it, musical theater, it's you've got to be able to move.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to move if you're going to go into the industry. You've got to be able to have something. It's okay to know your limitations, and it's okay to kind of hug. Glenn goes yes. Hug those limitations and kind of stay true to those. But I think it's like in your case in this show, it's important for you to be able to want to you know, stretch those horizons a little bit.
Looking at Brooke, she's been in all the shows we've done, but I don't think you've ever danced this much or this hard
No,
in any show you've
definitely
done.
Not any show, not at Fame.
So it was a good stretch for not only her but for everybody.
Yeah.
It was a stretch for me to choreograph the entire thing.
Where does that put you then academically? I mean, are you in high school?
Yeah, I'm a sophomore this year.
So does your school have a drama program then, or
Just so happens it does.
Oh,
Just so
she's one of yours? Oh, I see how this show works. It's all just a bunch of people you know. Huh? I see.
So if you're a part of my personal contact list, give me a call. We'll get you on the show. No, but seriously, it's what's funny is that's the charm of Broadway Bound's program, is that you can be a part of any high school theater program, or you don't even have to have that background. You've never have done a show before. Maybe you've gone and seen a show or have a friend that's done a show and really kind of glommed onto that and thought, man, that looks fun. That looks like a lot of fun. You can enroll. You don't have to have any sort of association with any group. You don't have to. You just have to take a class. And you know something? I think the goal primarily, and I'm speaking out of turn here, I'm asking, for Summerlin Dance Academy is to want them to want to take dance class.
Yes.
And then maybe kind of transition those dance classes into different disciplines.
Yeah, I set up this year, if you want to take the Broadway Bound class, you have to also be enrolled in a dance class. So, I don't know, best
It's
of both
good,
worlds.
right?
It helps.
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Killing two birds with one stone. I don't even have like
See that bell over there?
references.
See that bell over there?
There is the bell. Yeah, Marianne usually rings the bell. You're
Yeah,
not
well,
doing it.
she's not here.
Thank you very much. We need to get like a soundboard. I think.
I have one.
Well, we need to make this happen.
Well, if I can hook my laptop up to the soundboard, then we can have a soundboard.
Way
And
too
I can put.
complicated. Kelly, get on that. Get on that for me, Kelly.
All I need is the cable.
Okay.
I'm molting over here.
Let's take a really quick break. We're going to be back. We'll be talking with Michael Voivodich and Brooke Solon with Broadway Bound's production of Bye Bye Birdie. Hang tight, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Julia Marty, and you are absolutely listening to Curtain Call with Erik. Don't stop listening.
I had the best burger today.
Say it again.
The best burger. I went to not the Sugar Shack. It's a place in Paris. Sweet something.
The Sugar
Right on-
Factory?
Yes, Sugar Factory. Bacon and blue cheese burger. They chopped up the onions and mushrooms, and sauteed them all, and then with blue cheese, it just all melted into this like coagulated
Yummy.
love fest. So,
Ooh, there's a Raising Cane's commercial.
You say that every time.
I
You
know, it's
forget
very
it?
exciting. I forget because it's all the way down here in its own little world. I gotta do a couple commercials.
You did. I can't believe you said that.
Bye bye,
Dumb.
Bye bye, birdie.
so I'm counting how many times he mispronounces your name.
Not once.
Voivodich. I know.
Not once.
I'm good at it.
Voivodich?
Once I got it, I got it.
Voivodich.
No.
Voivodich?
No.
Voivodich.
There's a commercial for Deja Vu.
I voted for that. What?
And ever since Dr. Book says he's listening to the show, I haven't played it. Because it's like...
Dr. Who?
Dr. Book. He's our chief executive officer.
But if he watches the video now, he knows.
Right?
You get 25% off if you mention the LA Dodgers.
That's stuff I know.
You do? I've heard the
No, it's not been my notes. And I got it like in my notes.
We have a problem.
Come see Bye Bye Birdie. Cough.
Okay, one more minute. Then we're
I'm not bending it.
My entire closet system went.
There.
Why in the world would you eat, drink, and play anywhere
All of
else?
Kelly's damn clothes.
Just because it's heavy. Yeah.
Because KB owns this cheap, what's that crap plastic closet made stuff
We
up.
did it again today.
See her crazy tan we gave her?
Nice expensive day between the stratosphere jump into a closet.
No, it's just a.
You spray?
No, it's just a. It's like a foam.
It's like it's not even lotion. It's like a foam.
It looks real.
It looks like foamy poop.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it? Because I'm white.
We got it from. Where did Becky get
Sephora.
Oh, is that to make you look Hispanic?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit. Ish.
Wearing a wig?
Yes.
I'm wearing
Okay.
a wig.
Oh, God.
Would not look Spanish.
Alright, 10 seconds.
You have like a stereotypical accent yet?
My accent is
Oh, we gotta work on that.
Oh, no, you don't.
Let's go down to Fremont Street.
Yes.
Just go outside.
Right?
This is Roger Rees of New York Steel and Starcatcher.
I know we do.
Sending you back to Erik Ball here in Las Vegas.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Curtain Call, and we are talking with Brooke Solon, who's in Broadway Bound's upcoming musical Bye Bye Birdie, and Michael Voivodich, the creative director and leader of the Fearless Army that's going to be tackling this musical.
Oh, you had me turned off.
Yeah,
wow,
sorry.
because I had a great...
We're
all birds of a feather in the theater community.
No.
Totally wasted because my mic was turned off.
You know something? I didn't know it was that easy. Just press that button. That's all I gotta do.
That's all you gotta do.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're just now listening, Broadway Bound's Bye Bye Birdie is flying into theaters August 31st through September 8th. And you can get tickets in a couple ways. First, I recommend that you get them in advance, though, because they are reserved seating. Go to BroadwayBoundLV.com. Or you can call 838-5131. Again, BroadwayBoundLV.com. Or you can call 838-5131. I assume you can get tickets at the door if they wanted to as well.
Yeah.
So that's the third way. But here's the thing. It's one of those... just like we were talking about the Super Summer Theater.
And this is at CSN Cheyenne campus in the Horn Theater.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I didn't mention that.
No, you
Thank
didn't.
you.
That's why I
because
did.
this is a new location.
I'm a good egg.
Usually,
Yes, it is.
in the past, they did their productions over in. I just skimmed right over that. They usually do their
Flew right on by.
It's gonna be one of those days.
You started it.
I did. They usually did their performances at the Summerlin Theater, and now
Summerlin Library, yeah.
Summerlin Library. So this is going to be at the Horn Theater, the College of Southern Nevada on East Cheyenne. It's great theater as well.
Yeah, it's very good theater.
And I know that I can speak for you when I say that I hope that the patrons that usually kind of support Broadway bound and have traditionally gone out there, make just a little bit more of a drive. Go through a Starbucks and get a latte and enjoy a latte in your driving, then get over there and continue supporting this very worthy and enthusiastic team of kids. Because
migrate from the Summerlin Library Theater over to the Horn Theater.
Migrate.
Yes.
In V formation.
Yes.
Is that south or north?
It would be
east.
Right, northeast.
Yeah, northeast. But it's right off. It's right off the I-15 north.
Yeah.
You just take the I-15 north, exit East Cheyenne, and it's just
so
right down the road.
So Bye Bye Birdie. Let me ask you something, Brooke. And you've done lots of shows in the past. Just knowing you and having worked with you, how does this one size up? Now, is this one of those shows that's kind of like can be categorized as a cotton candy musical that's kind of fluffy, or is it kind of one of those things that still presents a lot of challenges and has some substance? I mean,
I don't think it's one of those cotton candy musicals. I mean, it does have a lot of numbers that everyone knows, like Telephone Hour. I'm sure a lot of people will know that one and Put on a Happy Face, but like there are things about it that I think some people forget or don't know, and it's more than just like cute songs and fun dancing. I just think a lot of people really enjoy it.
Yeah, and what the characters alone are kind of identifiable, and Dick Van Dyke, of course, just made the movie version or the Broadway. He was in Broadway version first, wasn't he? Or did
I think he was in both.
Yeah, I think so
both,
too.
yeah.
And then really kind of got the ball rolling for the show, and then it's really kind of a tried and true classic. So, and it's one of those shows that everybody, if you're interested in theater at all, you need to go see the show. I mean, I've seen Bye Bye Birdie on tape, and I've seen the movie. I've never seen it live.
I've never seen it
Really?
at all.
I've never seen it live, so I'm very excited to actually go and see it. And it's one of those ones that's always been kind of personally, as a director, kind of on my top 20 list I need to get to. I would love to tackle it. I like the era. Who doesn't like the 50s?
Yeah.
And the way that the episodic moments kind of present themselves, the staging of it always intrigued me, how we could do it creatively. And so let me throw it back over to you, Michael. Now, any challenges? And I always like to kind of get to the root of things and say, so what's gone wrong? Let's talk about it. No, but has this presented different challenges than in the past?
Yeah. Well, we're in a new theater, so that's definitely changed. And I mean, we're getting in there tomorrow, so I'm sure they're.
Oh wow!
Yeah. For the first time, our tech week is only 4 days long, and then we open Friday. So I'm sure there's going to be challenges and whatnot to work out tomorrow. But other than that, the show itself, really, the only challenge was the choreo. It's just, we picked the show, and then I thought, okay, I can do this. I can choreograph a couple numbers here and there.
Yeah.
And then it turned into like 8 or 9 numbers when I thought there were only 3.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot. It was a lot, but we had all summer to reherse. So.
Well, you did the choreography as well.
Yeah, I directed it and choreographed it.
How you said all summer? How long do you do it several times? Rehearse.
We started May 5th, and then we open next week. So it seems like a long time, but we really only rehearse like Fridays and Saturdays. Total amount of rehearsal days is 30 days.
Dance studio schedule versus a theater company schedule. Yeah, I suppose it's.
So it's really no different than, I don't know, 30 days. That's not much.
Yeah, it's about a month's worth. Yeah. That's interesting. Now, as far as this kind of is getting to the root of another problem that we've really talked about heavily on the show, is that venue space in Las Vegas is so sought after and it's a concerning element of theater, because the growth of theater in Las Vegas, I would argue, is got a forward momentum.
Yeah, most theater companies don't have a nest egg to really invest in.
Lord. I was sitting there going, yes, and you're like, and then you had that quirky smile, and I was like, oh Lord, I fell right into it. But seriously, I mean, this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. I mean, you really truly thought, kind of going into this season, that things were going to just go as normal. You're going to have the same kind of load-in time, same thing. And then all of a sudden, there's a debacle with the Summerlin Theater, and which, by the way, I'm going to shed just a little bit of light on. In September, they're going to have a meeting, and hopefully
September 13th.
September 13th, going to hopefully come to some sort of resolve, or at least some mutual consensus, understanding, or at the very least, a compromise, so that the space can be occupied again. Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, the costume room and the prop room at Faith Lutheran, if somebody wants to borrow something, I'm of the philosophy of, if it's for the sake of creating something as an ensemble, I would rather it go to this person and be
Yep.
used than sit on a shelf not being used.
Yep.
And so that I can't wrap my head around a city's, and here's the thing, I'm generalizing, and I know that everyone's working towards a greater goal, and so I'm not going to diminish that. But I will say that I'm looking very much forward to this meeting in the hopes that we can get some more performers on that stage for a reasonable price, because the alternative is leaving it empty. And I no good comes from that. And so I admire the fact, and I want to applaud Broadway Bound for taking the initiative to, put your horns down and say, listen, this really stinks, but we're going to move forward and we're going to make this happen, because there's a greater goal. It's not so much the venue, it's not so much not so much the show. It's about the students' involvement and getting them on stage and performing, and that's what it's all about. We need arts in the community. And so, congratulations on that. I really applaud that.
I have a question for you, Brooke. Having worked with both Michael and Eric, kind of compare their directing styles.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Oh yes,
I have
Be
an
careful.
hard hitting.
Be careful, Brooke. I'll put your costumes on and do your role for you. Don't think I won't.
And of course,
I won't.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. They're both different. Well, Mr. Ball's different because he's a teacher as well. So he's like,
What am I, your friend?
no,
not anymore.
no, like a school teacher, not like a. This is bad.
No answer's good. Does this make me look fat, bro?
You got set up.
Oh, of course. And it's you don't have to answer the question, but I do always find it interesting because.
Let me turn the tables on you. I've worked with you as a director and as a colleague on stage as an actor.
You're just fishing for compliments. You already know my answer, so I'm not even going to tell you
He's
that.
Wonderful.
No, I'm more than happy to feed Eric's ego. I've told him many times. There's a few directors in this town that I trust implicitly, and Eric happens to be one of them.
Thank you.
Now, moving back to real. As a student, you're going in your sophomore year at Faith Lutheran, so you've worked how many productions with Eric? 2?
I've just
3?
done one.
Just
Wait.
one?
Well, actually, yeah, really just one, because
one?
Emily, my wife, directed the other.
Yeah.
And you've been doing Broadway Bound for
I've been
5
doing-
years?
You were there before I started teaching there.
Yeah,
So-
I did it when we first started doing shows.
So that's a huge transition for you.
It was huge.
Yeah. And it will become even more so with your background with Broadway Bound, stepping into a very I don't know. No, I'm trying to find another compliment and I can't find it. Eric has a very well-respected theater program in Clark County. And,
Thank you, Glenn.
It's not from me. So that's going to be a interesting transition. It's almost the transition of community theater into professional, if you want to equate it in that sense. How are you preparing for that kind of thing? Because I don't know how many kids we actually have listening to this show, but I think it's relevant because I have a daughter who's your age, doing somewhat of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Broadway Bound, the thing is, like, it grows every single show. We do more challenging shows, and, like, we have roles that, like I would have never thought in a million years I'd play Rosie. Like, I thought I'd have to be, like, really Spanish or something, and, like, it's like a challenging role that I never
can we zoom in on Brooke? She is so not Hispanic.
Not at all. Yes, I was wearing dark brown wigs, so, yeah.
What?
But, like, I don't know, I think the shows are really helping me, like, they're both, like, the shows at Faith and the shows at Broadway Bound are both helping me in different ways, and, like, I think
How so? I mean, that's a very vague comment.
Well, I think...
You have to understand, Glenn's our pressure cooker.
Yes.
Our resident pressure cooker.
Well, Broadway Bound's definitely, since it's a dance studio, I've always taken dance classes there, so it's helped me a lot with my dancing. And I know that Faith, the upcoming shows, there's going to be a lot more dancing in it, and I think it'll help me be more well-rounded. And I think that's going to help me in the sense for Faith shows, and then Faith shows help me, like, prepare being more professional and, like, having my lines memorized and stuff like that for Broadway Bound shows.
Well, I've always, this is one of my biggest, and this is for all of you students, not just Faith students, anybody who's interested in making a career in performing, and now generalize it like that. I'm a big believer of base your casting on the audition, how the auditions present themselves and unfold. Do not base it on the person, okay? Because if you start basing it on the person, then you have wild expectations before you even audition people, and it kind of deflates the process before you even begin. So you base it on the audition. After you cast it, now
You're talking from a director's point of view.
Well, and I'm addressing it for the actors. Now here's the thing. Oftentimes, I don't care if you're running a program within a dance academy, or if you're a teacher at a high school, or if you're a community director. I mean, it's all the same. You're gonna get people who say, well, you cast the same people. You already have an idea of the cast ahead of time. The problem with that is that if you're truly trying to create ensemble, and you were doing that, you've defeated the purpose before you began. Instead. If you do happen to have the same person get cast in a lead and then a lead again, my argument is, what is that person doing right? Is that person taking classes? Is that person pursuing a more rigorous approach of private study? There's something going on that's giving them a leg up. So instead of taking 2 steps back and being upset about it, you can be upset about the casting, but propel yourself forward. I'm a big believer in people who really, really want those leading roles or want those opportunities, however you want to glaze it over. They're gonna start raising the bar for others, not just themselves. And I think that is another sense and case of ensemble that theater provides that people don't remember. It's not just about once you get cast and creating ensemble. It's about creating ensemble before you're even approaching the piece. You have to set your own standard and base it on what you think the standard will be for the director. And it's very, very, very important. Now, and I'm going to flop it back over to you, Michael, because having you taken the position over Broadway Bound, I've seen all the Broadway Bound shows since a long time ago. The caliber of production value and what you offer these kids has escalated greatly from show to show to show to show. I high compliments and regards, because it really, really has, and that's why I'm excited about this show, is because what you just said, Brooke, I can see it. I can see how students who have kind of graduated through the ranks of Broadway Bound are looking forward to Bye Bye Birdie and future opportunities, because it's a program that grows. I'm blessed beyond measure at Faith Lutheran with all the opportunities, the support from the administration, the constant support from the parents and the students that are involved. But the number one reason why Faith has a perceived successful program is because of ensemble. It's because of people working together. If you can't work together, if people won't work together, I mean, we're making some great strides this year in theater, great strides this year in theater. But that's only possible because the administration and the faculty and people who have supported our program are supporting us to an even greater level now. They're trusting us to do more and allowing things to happen and putting things in place.
I want to ask the question then to Mike, because you have that position where you're a hired educator and you're at a school that gets that support. There's a lot of schools in this district that don't have that support.
You're 100%
I mean, my daughter's high school doesn't even have a choir. Wow. It's not even it's not even an extracurricular club after school.
All joking aside, that is unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's also Moapa Valley High School, so
God bless Moapa Valley.
But Michael, you've got to be running into similar issues, especially in the economy, where, and we've seen it with the Summerlin Library. Politicians don't give. Can we say rat's ass?
Sure.
Okay. They don't care, and that's not to say they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
No, they probably understand, but their priorities are definitely somewhere else. Arts and enrichment and those types of they're necessities for children.
Yes.
If you're not a parent, you don't understand. Are you dealing with some of that as well with Broadway Bound? And I'm guessing that the students that are in the Summerlin Dance Academy pay for being part of these shows then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is a fee to be in the show.
Okay.
But, I mean, again, the amount of rehearsals, the amount of time that's spent on each person and each person's character and on their choreo and everything, it's worth.
It's an
I'm
investment.
not arguing that. My question is, how do you maintain a high production value? Where do you get your budget from? How do you justify, and how do you get the money? I mean, because you can only dip into the student well so much. Hey, it takes this much to get to
really
take the class.
based-
Oh, we're also going to need this much from you.
We
for
don't
costumes
take
and all.
anything from the class. The budget for our shows is all laid out for us, and it's based on ticket sales, on cast member enrollment fees. We have not accepted any we don't accept any donations, stuff like that. So basically, and like Eric said before about your costume room and everything, like share the wealth. We've all kind of give and take. We all kind of give and take between each other, between us and Signature and everything. Yeah. So that's how we maintain our sets and everything.
And can I say that's the part of theater that you talk about politicians. God bless politicians. I don't want to assume that I even know what it takes to be one. You know what I mean? I don't want to assume it knows what it takes to be a lawyer or a garbage man. That's not my.
Wow,
job.
you just equated lawyer, politician, and garbage man all in the same
You know,
sentence.
I've always wanted to be a garbage man, though. That's another story for another day. Because
I
just
I'm
like
always-
crushing things.
I'm always curious about what people throw away. It's like being in Walmart and seeing what people have.
I watched Forensic Files last night. I don't want to talk about that. But the thing is,
wait,
thank you.
What Forensic Files? What is
Yeah, just it was an episode about a suitcase and a young lady. So, anyways,
wait.
Like, was she in it?
Yeah, and they threw it away in the dumpster, and anyways, but we're getting off topic here.
Yeah, but that was interesting.
No, but here's the thing: as far as politicians are concerned, they don't understand stuff like that. Like, let me give you an example from my neck of the woods as far as high school is concerned. I don't want to assume that I know anything about the football program. Okay, because I don't. I know what football is. It's that longish ball. But the thing is,
wow.
But here's the thing:
you just ruined 50 years of trying to erase theater stereotypes.
Yeah, I know. I just threw it out there. But here's the thing: as far as their program's concerned, I could assume that as far as budgetary concerns are involved. They would kind of know what to expect as far as preseason. They would know what to expect as far as uniforms, as far as the numbers and the demographics of the people that are going to be on the field versus off the field, and what they're going to have to plan accordingly budget-wise. But that's, of course, taking into consideration that they're playing the same game year after year. Now, the game may change. You may go from 3A to 4A. You may play different teams on different fields in different circumstances under different conditions. But it's the same game.
Yes. Now, see, I will.
Let me finish my
trump you on that because football is very political.
It can be,
and it's a moneymaker.
It can. Well, no, and I'm not saying it isn't. I think it's got its place in the world just like everything else. But theater, we constantly are trying to generate something brand new. You know what I mean? And that's everything from the costumes to the set to the collaboration with the orchestra pit to the creative team.
You have a different quarterback every show as well.
Yeah, but it's the same game. If I were to play,
I'm
let me give you an example.
I'm using quarterback in the theatrical sense that your actors are not necessarily the same ones.
But if we were to perform the show Annie year after year, every year we were doing Annie. Every year we'd have different quarterbacks, we'd have different costumes because they're different sizes. We'd have different set, maybe but it's the same show.
But
year after year.
We wouldn't. The outcome is the same. A football game is not. You're not going to get the same outcome.
But would you argue that if we did Annie year after year, even if the outcome
no
wasn't
one would
the same,
come see it
the director of the program or planning for the program would relatively be understood. You'd kind of have an idea of what you could expect. I mean, now, from show to show, what I'm arguing is from show to show, from season to season, from cast to cast, it's a very different approach. Every approach is different. Everything you do, you have to start from anew. And can I say that's the joy of theater for me, because you're starting anew with a whole new group
and that's where I'm arguing. Where football is really it's a hard analogy to kind of.
It's really a hard, and it's probably a poor analogy.
Well, football by any find me in high school that doesn't have a football team. Because football is a moneymaker. The boosters, the ticket sales. LVA doesn't have a football team?
Not a really good football team.
Do they have a football team?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
They perform a football game.
But again, the difference between a theatrical production is that your ticket purchasers are coming to be entertained by having a story told to them.
Yeah.
People who go to a sporting event aren't looking to be hopefully entertained, yes, but a story isn't being told. There's no
Yeah,
production.
it's a different type.
Yeah.
It's a different type of support, and like I said, it's probably is bold as apples and oranges, probably. That's why I never ever. This year I started the year off with my International Thespian Society group saying, guys, what I want to do is redefine how we are stationed in the school, and part of that is we need to support our fellow Faith Lutheran Crusaders.
Sure.
That includes all the teams, that includes everything. There's this weird, and like you said, reinforcing stereotypes of drama versus sports, you know, and it's like, it's not that way. It's just it's a
not
different
that way,
discipline.
But when you're in high school, it certainly is.
Well, anything in high school is that way.
I know, but that's the side.
And it's too bad. So we got off topic a little bit. If you're just now tuning in and wondering what we're rambling about, we're actually talking with members of Studio One Summerlin Dance Academy's Broadway Bounds program. The musical coming up is Bye Bye Birdie. It's a tried and true musical, folks, but you want to make time in your schedule to go and see this show. This is a formed by an eclectic, diverse group of students, ages all the way from 6 years old all the way up until 18, and they're very, very talented young people from the Las Vegas Valley, all four corners of the Las Vegas Valley. The shows are happening August 31st through September 8th. Tickets are only $15, but all seats are reserved, so you're going to want to go online and get those tickets right now. You can go to BroadwayBoundLV.com, or you can call 838 5131 838-5131 for tickets. You can get them right now. So get them.
And performances Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 31st, 1st, and 2nd, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. There's 2 shows each Saturday, the 1st and the 8th, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. These shows are all at the Horn Theater at the College of Southern Nevada Cheyenne campus. 3200 East Cheyenne, which is just on the I-15 North, exit east on Cheyenne, and it's a couple miles down the road. And I'm guessing you can get the tickets at the CSN box office as well out there. Yeah.
Okay, I've done a lot of talking, and I've kind of taken things over, so we're going to take a quick break for a commercial, and then we'll be back and we'll talk a little bit more with Michael Vojvodich and Brooke Solon with Broadway Bounds Bye Bye Birdie, so hang on tight.
You're listening to Curtain Call with Erik Ball. This is David Loud saying hello from Broadway.
Have a seat and come in and hang out for a little bit. I don't think we got another mic for you. But
are you sick and tired of your garage door going up and everything?
You can make finger gestures behind there.
No, that's it.
I'm
glad you're here, man.
Custom Hearth and Door is here to help. They are your one-stop shop.
She wants to know if you're texting me.
I did a lot of talking there, sorry.
That's okay.
You can't be Custom
It's your
Hearth
show.
Door and not do fireplaces. As
It
they
is.
provide high quality.
You bring up a good point. My analogy is I think good in a sense that it describes the polarization of the two.
Well, I was thinking you were talking. The analogy was how too much focus is being put on the sport. It's the sport itself and making money for the school. I mean,
see, I'll tell
Penn State, you know, right there.
Yeah, true. I'll tell you right now, I am 100% of support of sports and schools.
As am I.
I just think that there should be
every child's upbringing that they should be well-rounded, and that includes arts and athletics. And it doesn't necessarily mean being a football player. It could be playing tennis, could be a cheerleader, it could be volleyball, could be baseball, could be soccer, could be
in a high school setting. Though, I think a student should be involved in a lot, and they need to taste.
I think PE should be required all 4 years. I also think that
choir band,
everyone should be should provide some sort of public service after they graduate. I'm a socialist. I said it. Sorry.
I wouldn't even go as far as to say that fine arts need to be on the same level as sports. Like
but it should be encouraged because everyone has the potential, whether it be in some sort of media, whether it's photography or paint or sculpture, or maybe it's musical, band, orchestra, choir. Everyone has something to offer, and when you remove those things from a school, you take away from the child. And their result is doing something different, singing to songs on Rock Band on their Wii. I don't know.
Okay, 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Here we go.
15-year-old daughter now.
Listen to this stinger. This is my favorite.
place to go when you want it all. Las Vegas is home for great food, great beer, great fun, and of course, great gaming. After all, it is Vegas, baby.
This is Maggie Wheeler, Janice from TV's Friends, and oh my God, you're listening to Curtain Call with Erik Ball.
Brilliant.
All right, welcome back to Curtain Call. This is Erik Ball with Glenn Heath here in the studio. We're talking with Brooke Solon and Michael Voivodich from Studio One Summerlin Dance Academy's Broadway-bound upcoming musical production of Bye Bye Birdie. And real quickly, again, if you're just now tuning in, tickets are on sale right now. You can go to BroadwayBoundLV.com to get those tickets. Shows are from August 31st through September 8th. And tickets are only $15, and as far as the Valley's concerned, that is a really good price for some quality entertainment. All right, let's cut to the chase here. Tell me who is in this show, Brooke? Who are our principals, and what are they like, and what are they bringing to these characters and stuff? Just rattle off a few for us.
Okay, for example, Jordan Mazzucato is playing Albert, and Harrison Langford is playing Conrad Birdie.
Ah.
Yes, and Carly Salway is playing Kim McAfee. They're all fantastic.
Nice.
I think they're bringing a lot to these
Is there a
characters.
gold LeMay Elvis suit? That's what I want to know.
Oh yeah, it came in the mail 2 days ago.
Came in the mail.
I was going to say, if not, I have a gold leather coat that I used for the
Where's the off?
pages.
Where's the off button? I thought you were going to say gold LeMay.
No,
suit.
but it's that gold leather jacket I wore.
Oh yeah, with the lion on the back.
No, it's American flag.
Oh, one of the two.
Oh, it probably wouldn't be period because it has 50 stars.
All right, going on. Sorry. Has anything fun kind of happened? Like, is there because some of these people have worked with in the past, of course.
Yeah.
Anytime you go into a new role and you're having to play opposites of everybody.
I know it's really fun. Me and Jordan were Natalie and Chad and all shook up, so we're really comfortable around each other and.
But now you're playing adults.
Yeah, that's the thing that's different now.
They've grown up.
We have to be adults.
I hate to interject. How do you direct that? And I'll even Sean Critchfield's in the house. He's not on mic, but I'll throw it out to anyone because that's something I always find interesting with high school theater. When kids have to play adults, you don't have a frame of reference.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for something like that? I mean, because your world is very isolated in the sense that
Channel mom and dad.
Yeah, but I mean, is that it? I mean, you're playing a Hispanic girl and an adult, right?
Yeah.
You're none of those things. You're a girl. Sorry, but no, I find that. How is that? It's got to be challenging as an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were asked to play a child, I could probably dig deep and figure out how to be a child again because I'm doing it now. But from a director's standpoint, how do you direct? How do you convey what you want? Obviously, that's why it's called directing. How do you do it?
We did a lot of references for the characters.
Yeah.
A lot of printout references. A lot of watch these movies, watch this YouTube video, watch.
You have to do that because of the period as well.
Yeah.
Mrs. What's her face? I can't remember her. Mrs. What's her face? Mrs. McAfee.
Yeah.
Told her to go watch Donna Reed. Go watch Leave It to Beaver and pull from that, and then I don't know. I guess just being an adult and having our assistant director and music director, we kind of all pooled our own ideas together to make a relationship between the two, sophomore and juniors that are playing.
Yeah.
He's a senior?
Yeah.
I'll ask that then. How does that work? And I'll even throw that to intern Kelly over there in the corner too, because you have to do it. I mean, watching Barbara Billingsley on Leave It to Beaver. I mean, it's stereotypical of the time, anyways.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a double-edged sword because you're not really getting the true heart of it. Maybe watching Mad Men. Maybe that.
We love Mad Men.
Okay, well, good. But did you find that doing that sort of research, because you have to do that sort of research as a young person?
Yeah, I think it did help a lot. I mean, I watched the new Bye Bye Birdie movie, and he said that wasn't quite what he wanted. It was a little too 70s. So I watched the Janet Leigh version, which is like the original, and I loved what she did. And I'm trying to do it more like her. She's very cute and funny and likable.
Well, it's also how you carry your body.
Yeah,
you know
that
what I mean?
too. It's posture.
You're so used to being a kid. It's how do you walk? How
Yeah.
your vocal inflection, everything like that had to change.
Can I swing the mic around here real quick? I want Sean to chime in here. Can you swing the shirt? Sure. Because I also want to plug in at the risk of insulting the two students that are in the room. I always argue that I can't speak tonight. I don't know what's wrong with me. My high school classes versus my middle school classes are very, very different as far as how I need to approach them.
Yes.
And having an eclectic group from 6 years old to 18 years old, I'm sure that's one of the challenges. Mm-hmm. But one of the lovely things I love about my middle schoolers is the fact that there's this unbridled approach to everything they do. There's a level of discovery, of fantasy, of wonder, that a young person has that slowly develops into more practical, logical states of mind as you mature. And so I would argue that a high schooler is kind of trapped between these two worlds. And so I personally, when I approach anything that involves students having to portray adults, the number one thing I start with is naivety. Make-believe. Go to square one with theater. Make-believe. And when you start with that, you're going to play a woman who's 45 years old. Go. Well, what do you think a 45-year-old woman would do? Start there, and then you can start slowly build. Because I believe that naivety is the only thing that you can reserve as a kind of an unbridled approach. That's your interpretation, your approach, your sense of wonder, and is it right or wrong? Well, who cares? It's unbridled. That means it's not messed with because it's yours. And that's why theater is wonderful, is because you can play this role, Brooke, and down the road, Kelly could play the role. It will not be the same role. It will be different because it's your approach. You know what I'm saying? So it's square one starting points for a student performer is always, and as an adult performer, I would argue, you have to start that off for yourself. You have to find that square one approach. Sean, I kind of went down my own little avenue. I know you wanted to build on
But
this.
you passed by Mike because you started going off on about improv, and so
a little bit.
You coming into my school?
Yeah, I passed your cul-de-sac.
That's right.
Sean Critchfield, ladies and gentlemen, he's a very dear friend, fellow director, performer, stage combat master wonder. He also works over at Tournament Kings, but he's a brilliant, brilliant man. Please chime in.
Well, first of all, Brooke, did I see you in Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I was Glinda.
Yeah, you were fantastic. You're an absolute
thank
delight.
you.
I coached one of your Dorothys.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Stage
so,
combat?
Really?
What's that?
Stage combat for Dorothy?
Awesome.
Oh,
throw the dog.
Darn!
I was your acting coach.
That's what I want to see.
So yeah. Anyway,
Samurai Dorothy.
what I wanted to say was that I think that it's fair to say that I have never been an alcoholic. I have never been homeless. I have never shot up heroin.
Mm-hmm.
I have never been an abuser or been abused. Yet I've done all of those on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no frame of reference for any of those. And I think that all actors, regardless of age, because I treat, I do grad school level work with my 13-year-olds, when as a private acting coach, and I treat them equally. And I believe that everyone will rise to the level of expectation that is set for them. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you go into it going, no, you do have this, you have the capacity to do this, you have the capacity to develop this character,
Mm-hmm.
that they will rise to that level of expectation and succeed. So I think it comes down to exactly what you said. Then I think all of these components come into it. But I think that it's more about asking an actor about facing a challenge of something that they have no frame of reference for, rather than it is asking a kid whether or not they can play an adult. I don't think it's fair to differentiate that a kid is a kid.
Well, it's the same thing.
An
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but you do a nice thing, Sean, in that you're there with them for that risk that they're going to take, and it's always a risk. And of course, I don't have the heroin references,
Mm-hmm.
but as an adult, you have a broader spectrum of
Frames of reference.
Yeah, frames of reference. Thank you. But do you? And I'll ask you, Sean, because I think I know the answer. Do you find it's easier to work with kids to get them to take that risk? Because as adults, and this is why I love improv so much, because adults have such a hard time grasping the concept of just letting go, which is, in kids, it's a natural thing. And so I'm kind of curious, because you've dealt with adults.
I'll let you answer this, because I definitely have an answer.
Yeah. And I'm kind of curious where you guys think that break is, where kids no longer want to play.
It remarkably... always boils down to the individual. I think there's exceptions to every rule, first of all.
Sure.
But I will say that the latter years of high school seem to get a little tougher because that's when they get this idea of cool. And frankly, I think cool is a 4-letter word, where we do forget that ability to play. And we do forget that making faces and sounds and things is fun. And so usually that's the period of time where I get the most resistance. But I think, as any director knows, there's ways to sidestep that, to reconnect to that sense of play.
And that's what makes you a good director.
Thank you, thank you. Incidentally, Glenn was my Shulgosh in Assassins, and he was fantastic. It was one of my favorite parts of it, so I have had the pleasure of directing the guy, so he's great. But I think that... Again, I think it comes down to the individual. I don't want to say that a child is better than an adult or an adult is better than a child. I've had some adults that freeze up and absolutely cannot hit certain emotional heights that children were very easy to get to. And then I've had children that were far too concerned with being cool to ever get there, and adults that went there immediately.
Sure.
So I think that everything comes down to me to... I never try to bracket anyone. I try to deal with everything in an individual basis. So that's really my answer.
Do you find yourself able to read individuals then?
Yes.
Are you better at doing that? Okay.
Yes. I think that the biggest challenge that most directors face is learning their actor's language. And we have a lot of directors in this room. But every actor speaks a different language. And as soon as you can figure it out...
As far as you're concerned, as far as this project... I mean, we've said before, we have a wide range of students in this production.
Yeah.
We have people that are coming from vast knowledge backgrounds of dance and have taken every dance class from Summerlin Dance Academy and have done many Broadway-bound shows like Brooke. And then we have young people who have never done a show or who have never done anything with Summerlin Dance Academy, or this is their debut or whatever, and we're talking a gamut of ages as well. So what would you say is your biggest challenge as far as that approach is concerned?
I think it would be...
Do they rise to the challenge mostly?
Yeah, but everybody's got their own process.
Right.
Everybody, especially kids, like they either get it right away, or it takes them a long time to get there. Everybody gets there in the end, but I think that's the struggle with I would say every show that we do is that they're all at a different stage of learning. Right. And you know what? Adults are the same. I know I am, but I think getting them there is the toughest part. To make them an ensemble is hard. To all feel not that they all feel the same thing, but they all create their own characters, and their characters are all involved in each other's lives. They all live in the same town, so you know each other.
How do you do that on a few hours a week? Because I mean, your and yours is different than Eric's, because Eric, these kids are all in the same school all the time. They may have different classes together. They hang out after school, different things. Sean, when you direct something, you get them for maybe 3-4 hours a day, and they have full-time jobs a lot of times, different, separate lives. So that's 3 very distinct situations.
Well, you said something that was interesting that sparked a memory in me from college. I had this really amazing theater professor, Gary Rigatini, at Jackson College in Michigan. He's since passed away.
Gary, if you're listening.
He's since passed away. Thank you, Glenn. Great guy.
Wow.
Boop boop doo. That's where a soundboard would be in him.
I'm going to edit fail right there in the video on that one.
Anyways, he said something to me for some reason that resonated with me, and it was funny because at the same time in my English class I was reading this book called As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner, and I really identify with that story too because the way he wrote it works like my mind thinks. And you know what I mean? It's so weird. So anyways, he was talking about, and he did this history lesson one time in drama class, about how the way that we do our schooling in grade levels and how we slowly progress people through the ranks of the grade levels today differed from like the Little House on the Prairie days where they had one schoolroom and a teacher in the front teaching a wide range of kids. And this history lesson was how that way was so much more efficient because what you said, they all come from the same farming community. They all know each other. And the reason why it worked better was because, like it or not, it was in the school room or it was out in the fields, harvesting whatever crop you did. It was all about survival. It was about working together and surviving. And that's what an ensemble needs to be. I don't care if you're creating something for the stage or you're harvesting cotton in the fields. Here's what you need to do. You need to survive. It's fighting for that purpose and that drive. And that's why it was so much more successful. There was not an option. There was not. If you were the class clown, then you were outcast. There wasn't a class clown.
You were taken behind the woodshed. You had a switch taken to you.
You know, but seriously, it wasn't like that. Now we have such an influence of society on everything we do, and it's other people's perception of what society should be. There's no sense of urgency as far as surviving.
Yeah. Well, how do you equate that into a classroom setting?
Well, you don't. You have to. I think.
Why don't you?
I think what Sean said earlier.
They can do it on Little House on the Prairie. Why can't you?
Because I'm not Mrs. Beadle. Okay. No, Sean said something, and that was her name. And Michael touched on it. You have to, every school year, every new show, every new class. I don't care if you've had them in class for 5 months. At the beginning of every class, you have to start anew, and it's finding their individual starting points, finding where their helicopter lands, and pinpointing that target area and starting there. You can't do anything until you hone in on what their demands are. Everybody has got individual demands. And creatively tapping into that is half the fun and half the danger, because it's really, really a bold step. And that's why ensembles and relationships and the trust factor, everything is so, so important. And kind of referencing Bye Bye Birdie, I've worked with Michael on several projects with Faith, out in the community theater and with Broadway Bound, and you do a really, really good job of tapping in on that. It's not easy to do, especially with youngins. It's like,
well, they all have their own idea of what the show should be like, because they're kids and they're creative.
As their parents do as well, or do you have a lot of theater parents?
I don't know if I should say that on the air, but sure.
Brooke's mom is like, she's in the other room.
Not you.
Well, listen, we're going to have to take another break here. If you're just now tuning in, this is Curtain Call with Erik Ball. We're talking with Brooke Solon, who is one of the principal characters in Broadway Bound's upcoming musical production of Bye Bye Birdie. She's joined with Michael Vojvodich, the creative director and the head of the program there. They're going up August 31st through September 8th. You can get your tickets right now, though. Head over to BroadwayBoundLV.com. Again, BroadwayBoundLV.com. Or you can call 838-5131. We have to take a quick break here while you're listening to these fantastic commercials. I recommend you go over to Facebook and like our Facebook page, because we like to be liked. Curtain Call with Erik Ball. You can put it in the search bar there, and because our life runs on Facebook, as you all know. Speaking of society and the will to survive. So anyways.
It's been almost 20 minutes since a bird reference.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Way to kill your run.
I didn't just want to toss her name out.
I'll do a safe nest commercial.
Throw her name out on air, but Suzanne is actually.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's Suzanne. Okay.
Yeah.
I love her. She's
She's
Ursula.
She's hilarious.
She's hysterical.
She's a delight.
What we'll do, we'll bring it back, we'll kind of reintroduce it one more time, say maybe one or two final thoughts, and then we'll excuse you on the air.
Okay.
And then,
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
are you guys cool? Do you need to be
No, I gotta go build a set.
cool? So, and then you can swing around. and
There's
grab
plenty
your
of
headset.
flats up at Spring Mountain Ranch. Go help yourself.
You were delightful. You were an absolute pleasure to watch. It was so great. Yeah, and the show was fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
And I mean it when I say that. You do really good work. And
my girlfriend actually is one of the teachers at Rainbow Company.
Oh, really?
So she came to see it too, and she was just like, "This is so neat! Like to see, what you guys were doing and what they're doing,
Sure.
like how the different programs are." And
Yeah.
she had such a good time.
Oh, good.
I might just do a general question of what would you like to say to people who are thinking about coming or something?
Get to the show. Buy
We'll
your
do a 45-minute commercial, then we'll go.
Can I say that in front of your mom? I don't know. She's laughing, but she's not laughing at us. Alex is texting you? Asshole. I'm so sorry.
Just tell them that your personal self-worth is.
You just said asshole on camera. It's on YouTube. It's,
All right.
it's fine.
Oh, it's YouTube.
Bro, just tell them
You say worse than that on YouTube.
You can do anything you want on
to
YouTube.
ticket sales.
Almost.
And
Yeah,
that
baby,
if
Not
people are
everyone.
buying tickets, then you don't feel complete as a person, and that so that your
Buy tickets.
self-respect is directly related to them buying tickets.
And the suicide rate of teenagers.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That might work.
Can you fake a disease or anything? You jaundice?
Jaundice, yes. That is why I'm.
Is that why you're tan?
Yes.
I'm not ethnic.
I'm jaundice.
This is the longest, most boring commercial
Or you need to
ever.
have green on you. And like, yeah.
It'd be funny if you still have the mic.
It didn't look purple, it looked black.
If you still
You
have
looked
the
like you had
mic
black eyes.
They could be, but they wouldn't
And,
be feeding through
ma'am.
Does it mix them both?
Well, when you say,
Can
where
you
do the
get
black
some
people
commercials?
get their tights from?
Here we go.
No,
Yeah.
because they get the darker
Because the
kind.
board is live, yeah.
That's what I
Oh,
meant.
it's on tape now. Great. Now twice we've
I
screwed
never
up.
said
Great.
Oh.
Fail. Fail.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to Curtain Call. This is Erik Ball. We're sitting here with Michael Vojvodich and Brooke Solon from Broadway Bound's upcoming production of Bye Bye Birdie. And just real quick, BroadwayBoundLV.com is the website that you go to purchase those tickets. August 31st through September 8th, you're going to want to get out there and see it. It's a great group of kids. Great production, and it's lots of fun. So if you had one more chance to say something to our listeners who are maybe on the fence as to whether or not they want to truck over to the Horn Theater and check out this musical, what can you say? Are you crying? What is that?
Oh no.
Oh,
no.
she will. She
I
cries. She
will
cries
if
every
I don't- we
every
don't get
time we
enough
close the
ticket
show.
sales. Go buy tickets.
Yeah, go.
Please.
Yeah.
You will enjoy the show, I promise. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
And you know something? Supporting local theater, 1, 2. It's a great group of kids. If you think about going to the four corners of the city and pulling some of the most talented students in the city and putting them in one production, that's what we're talking about. And led by some fearless leaders and a supportive dance academy that really wants to see youth theater flourish in the valley.
And this is a long commitment for these kids. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
granted, yes, maybe only 30 days of actual rehearsal time, but
Yep.
that's 4 months.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Of them giving up, their time.
Yep.
Well, I wish you guys the very best. I'm so thrilled that you took some time to join us today.
Yeah, thanks.
And we hope that you will join them August 31st through September 8th and see Bye Bye Birdie over at the Horn Theater at the College of Southern Nevada. Thanks, guys.
So now we have to say bye-bye, Brooke.
You gotta say bye-bye,
Oh.
Brooke.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Vojvodich. That doesn't work so
No,
well.
that
does
doesn't
it?
work so well.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye, bro.
Bye-bye, Brooke.
That works.
Yeah. Well, and as we transition, I'm going to welcome, he talked earlier, but officially welcome Sean Critchfield to the studio. He's a dear friend, director, actor. What don't you do? You do pretty much everything in the community here.
Sumo wrestling.
Sumo wrestling.
No sumo wrestling.
And
Not anymore.
he's going to
Not
kind of join the,
Not since that,
the
big
forum.
diaper accident.
That bum knee. So
Yeah.
no more sumo wrestling.
For those of you who are listening out there, real quick, and you are theater teachers in the Valley, we talked about how important the arts are in the community. I want to also stress how we believe the fine arts programs in our schools are equally as important. As we approach the new school year, a lot of us are starting school for the first day tomorrow. If you're listening and you're interested in getting some free advertisement on the air, or if you'd like to join us in the studio as you have an upcoming production for a play or musical in your school, please contact us. You can go to our Facebook page and get in touch with us, and we would love to feature your group on the air and get some patrons in those seats. So, Glenn, Sean, I wanted to talk a little bit today about the notion of reinventing the wheel in theater. The idea of why would somebody want to take a tried and true, now granted that's a subjective term right there, a tried and true show, musical, play, a classic work, and transform it by putting it in a different location or adjusting the time here. We have Bye Bye Birdie here. That's like doing Bye Bye Birdie in the 1990s.
Well, we've seen it twice. We've seen it twice already at Super Summer Theater this year, just with Oliver and with Joseph.
And we have an upcoming production of Hamlet.
Which
that's
is
contemporizing
which Troy Hurd has been doing some very interesting,
Yeah.
modernizing it, stripping it down.
And so, I'm curious to get your takes on this, and perhaps we can roundtable a little bit. The thought of, is it appropriate? Is it necessary? Is it what are your thoughts?
Well, why do bands do cover songs? I mean, there's obviously an attachment to something. As a director, there's a show you want to do, and wanted to do that show. If Bye Bye Birdie's on your top 20 list, why? There's got to be something you
Yeah.
want to. I mean, yes, you love the story, or you love these characters, or
Right.
you have some feelings towards it because you played it. You were in a role when you were younger. I don't know, but there's got to be something that you want to make it your own. And as a director, or producer, or an actor, you always want to take those roles or those shows and make them your own. Sean said it with portraying a character, or maybe you did, Eric. I'm not sure. No two people are going to play the role the same, and that's what makes theater so interesting, at least to me, because I can go see a production of Hairspray. It's been done 100 times in the Vegas area in the last 3-4 years. I've seen it 5 or 6 times. It's one of those shows I like to go see. It's very energetic, very fun, but no. Oh, I thought you were shaking your head, Kelly. Going, no, that's a horrible.
She's just trying to keep the tripod up there.
But no two performances. No two performances are going to be the same. No two roles are going to be the same.
Yeah, I argue I've seen Sweeney Todd live about 12 times, and the reason I keep going back is because I like the story. I like the story. The story is where it starts and ends, and I argue that the reason why I keep going back for more is because I continually find myself attached to the plight of the characters in the story. So it's kind of like, however it's done, there's a Sweeney Todd production. We got another one coming up, and I'm sure those concepts are going to.
Both are doing something unique with the role of Tobias Fogg, and making the character an adult, but with the mind of a child. And that's something that's maybe not necessarily unique, but it's something that's not traditionally done.
It's definitely unique from what was originally written.
But what you were getting at was with regards to why change something that's tried and true. And my issue with doing it is, are you doing it for a gimmick, or are you doing it because you want to tell the story in a different way to make your audience engaged and think?
Well, that's a good question. What do you think?
Well, I think that, first of all, I wanted to comment on something that you said, Eric. I think there's a difference between going to see the show for the story and going to see the show for the plight of the characters. Because there's this great thing that my acting coach, Larry Gold, used to say to me all the time. He would say, we don't go to the show to hear the lines. We can read the lines at home. We go to the show to see the subtext. And I completely agree with that. I think that and that bleeds over for me as an actor to a sense of, for my audience members, I want to approach this. How am I going to do this differently? How is this going to be my interpretation of this character? And I try not to do a lot of research because I don't want to mimic someone else, and I also don't want to bar myself from exploring an option because someone else has done it. I want to just completely come from the hip, completely organically, and develop the character how I feel him.
You're of the school of thought that if you're doing Hairspray, don't go watch the movie.
For my process, I don't think that process is universal by any stretch. Yeah. But for my process,
I'm very similar. I don't want to do what somebody else has done. I feel that that's cheapening their performance to some extent, and it not offering the audience what they've come to see. They've not come to see me per se, but I'm sure they would rather see me do something unique and different than to do the same stereotypical portrayal of a character. Yeah, we're talking characters and productions.
We're talking about the creative process. We're also talking about marketing and performance. Too.
I agree.
So as far as is there a danger as far as the creative process is concerned in messing with the formula of what is supposed to be intended by the playwright?
Do you ask the question because of an upcoming production that you're doing at Faith Lutheran?
No. I'm going to broaden the proverbial scope here and just say everything.
I love both. The thing that's funny with me is that I feel like I'm parroting myself and saying that it always comes down to the individual case. But I mean, what happens in my head is first I was just at one of the Rainbow Company auditions for Tom Sawyer. Kirsten Curry, she was there and she was running it and was helping out with it. And I was there and I walked down this hallway and they had throughout the years these pictures of Oliver. Yeah. And each picture of Oliver was a different conceptual idea. And I think that the reason that they have to reinvent the show is because they've done it 15 times. You know what I mean? And I think each time that they don't want to recycle the same show, and I think that's very smart of them. You know, so it was neat
from
to
a
look at
marketing
those,
perspective.
I think from both. I think from educating the students. I think being aware of the times and circumstances. You know, to make something relevant. I think that.
Well, and the times change too. I mean, if you did Oliver 30 years ago versus Oliver yesterday, it's going to be a different approach before you even try to make it a different approach.
Well, are you speaking from the aspect of having technology as well for lights and sound?
Oh,
and
sure. Anything.
I mean, any of that plays into it as well.
Just our perception of realities.
And I think, you know, at the same time that I was sitting next to a mother who told me that she had, I think, 2 generations of kids in Rainbow Company, and she was, you know, it was like, this is my 8th year with this kid, you know, and I'm sure that mother appreciates seeing a different version of it. So I think that that's one sandbox that you have to look at. You know, then I think there's the sandbox of sometimes people do things conceptually and it just gets muddied. The show gets swallowed up in it, and you don't actually see the show anymore. You just see the concept.
Is it a fine line? Now, you touched on a word there that often gets thrown into the blender when we're talking about creative process or spectacle over substance, or whatever, and that's concept. Mm-hmm. When you talk about a concept, if somebody says, "Oh, I want to do this show. I have a great concept for it," I mean, what are we talking? Is that a dangerous thing to say? I mean, is that
the word?
Is that the kiss of death right there?
Sometimes no. You know, I directed Last 5 Years, and when I did Last 5 Years, there's this neat. If you don't know the show, there's 2 characters in it. Oh, sorry.
That was unintentional.
Unintentional.
That was Sean. That was not me.
That was pretty awesome.
That was me.
That was it. Hey, I have to restart it. It's like David Ivers.
You have to restart your thought. Go.
Yeah. So you have these 2 characters, and the 2 characters are existing on different timelines. One's going backwards in time, one's going forwards in time. And it's a very neat concept. And as a director, I got so caught up in it, trying to deal with it, and how am I going to deal with this, that it was a week later that I realized that that's a trap in that show. That I've seen so many productions that lose so much heart and substance because they're so concerned with doing something gimmicky and neat with that time shift that you lose the story. If you serve the story, the time shift just becomes a component of it, and it doesn't become overwhelming. It's like, building a great sandwich and then slathering the thing in too much mustard.
How do you? No, and I'm challenging you. For those that are listening that maybe are like, that's interesting. How do you build a good sandwich then? I mean, how does one say...
You gotta have the mutton. It's nice and lean.
And the tomatoes are so perky.
I love that.
Dear Lord. Princess Bride reference. Okay, but seriously, I mean, how does one do that? I always say that it's the most thankless job in the world is steering the ship of a show. You know, just because you are kind of saddled with this understanding that you are going to create something new, even if it's a show that's been done, or if for the love of God, we have 2 companies doing Hamlet in town at the same time. I mean, there's a reason why they're doing Hamlet. I mean, there's something amazingly good and worth telling there.
It's a good story, and where you can lose it is if you do the 5-day version that Kenneth Branagh does, or what Troy's doing, and he's just trimming it down to its bare 90 minutes.
And what is that?
And do you lose some of the story? Probably. I'm not a Shakespeare purist by any
Here's
stretch.
my analogy now, though. If you're gonna, and I'm not arguing that one thing's better than the other. I'm just saying if you do trim it down to a bite-sized, beautiful, flavor-filled appetizer version, versus the sandwich that everybody is expecting. I mean, what is the audience going to be full? I mean, that's the whole goal, isn't it? Is to satisfy that audience, is to kind of give something to the audience that they can find as substantial.
We've had this discussion, and is it a matter of giving them enough of a taste to where they leave and they have the discussion afterwards about, man, did you see that? Did you taste that? It's just a little bit of mustard. I could have used a little bit more mustard. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, and that's I think that's what directors go for, is that end result, having that taste afterwards of. I don't like walking away from a table so full that it hurts, because then I've lost the enjoyment. My hamburger today, as an analogy, was so good, but I left the table so full that I really couldn't just savor the hamburger that I had.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that totally breaks your analogy or even...
No, because I would, and we're still on food here. Can I just say that some of the most, like if I think about them right now, the foods that have served me, that like my grandmother's cheese straws, they're the silliest things in the world, but if I think about them right now, it harnesses an emotion, it harnesses nostalgia, it harnesses, I can taste it on my tongue right now. You know what I mean? If we're talking about something that's going to substantially nourish and feed an audience member creatively, something like that, it's as simple as crust and cheese. I mean, but the fact that somebody made it in a certain way and it's presented in a certain way and it's expected at a certain time or something, that's what nourishes me more than the actual substance of the food. And so creatively, I would argue that it's not always about the substance of what is written on the page. It's how it's presented. It's how it's served.
And everyone has a different taste.
Right.
Not to jump on your food analogy.
It's a
you
good
know,
analogy.
art is subjective, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you're going to have a few people leaving the theater saying that the cutting was too short.
Right.
And you know, I guarantee you, there's going to be one person in there who thought that the 90 minutes was too long. You know.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that you just have to do your best to. This is a tough question for me because as director, my process is very different.
Yeah.
One of the things I tell my cast immediately from the beginning is that this is a conversation, and that the show that I want to put up is not the show that I have in my head, and it's not the one they have in their head. It's the one that we agree upon, and that's the one that should be on stage, and that's the thing that I go for. And so when my actors are making choices or want to bring something to the table or try something, I have this rubric. I say, as long as you feel that your choice is upholding the integrity of the script, is upholding the integrity of the show, and is upholding the integrity of your character, you can make any choice you want, and we'll discuss it. Because usually, before that I'd say you can make any choice you want, and I've had casts that decided to do the entire show as velociraptors just for fun. Incidentally, we found this great moment that was very feral and animalistic in that show that we would never have found had we not done the show as velociraptors. But the way that I harness that silly energy is if someone comes on and they decide that they're going to do it like a lame gorilla, I say, okay, explain to me how it's upholding our rubric. And if you can do that, then continue.
Can I tell you, I have a philosophy, I love that, and I love doing that. I call it the Dr. House method. Because if you watch any episode of Dr. House, you know, what they do and why he's so efficient or gets the end result all the time or whatever, is usually they don't say, well, here are the symptoms, A, B, C, D, it must be this, because this fits in this particular disease's category. Instead, he starts with everything, and he eliminates and eliminates. Oh, something else popped up. Well, that brings these back up. And eliminates and eliminates. And slowly we weed out this maze of, and it's this. You know, at the end of the episode. It's the same thing that you're talking about. You'll never discover what not to do until you discover everything. You know, and it's not necessarily the best. It's very messy and it's very convoluted and very chaotic sometimes, you know, and that controlled chaos can be good, but you know, that's, I would argue, one of the biggest tricks of a director is to be able to harness that chaos.
But as a director, you don't go in with a plate full of chaos and say,
no.
here's what we got, let's fish and flesh and...
I think it needs to be cooperative, like you said. I think it needs to be give and take. It needs to be a tennis match of creative giving. Back and
I
forth.
agree, and I think that also, coming back to that thankless job thing, there's also this tightrope that you need to be walking, which is, if one of my actors, if I say, well, what do you think? What do you think they do? Let's explore this. And my actor looks at me and says, I don't know, Sean.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose their trust if I don't have an answer for them right now. So underneath all of that, I have to have a fallback concept that I can go to if things get lost. But then, as soon as I say, okay, we'll try it like this, then I get them going, and I say, I don't want to lock that down. Don't marry that choice. Let's continue to play, but you have to give them a launching point, because not everyone, some people walk into that process and are terrified.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it's true. And I would say, as a director or a teacher, you have to be the king of Plan Bs.
Yeah.
You have to be. You have to master that domain.
That's the name of my new band.
King of Plan Bs. I always say, that's what my wife always says. If I say something weird, she's like, that'll be the name of your novella one day. King of the Plan Bs. But, okay, well, let's take a quick break. We'll take a commercial. We're sitting here with Sean Critchfield, and we're talking about what are we serving as an actor or a director trying to generate a play or a musical? What are we trying to do with it if we are trying to reinvent the wheel as far as trying to put it in a different period, or maybe giving it a different theme, or adjusting the the scope of things creatively? I mean, what are we trying to accomplish with that, and is it right? Reinventing the wheel here at Curtain Call with Erik Ball. If you want to call in, we have a call-in number. It's 221-SAVE, S-A-V-E.
You're a director or an actor in town, and you've got something to contribute.
Or if you have a question.
Yeah.
I mean, 221-SAVE is our number. Call in and join the conversation. We'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Because I would argue that the success or failure of a show doesn't necessarily hinge on an individual concept. But I'll touch on that in a little bit. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hi there, this is Rick Ellis, and you're listening to Curtain Call with Erik.
Apparently my ex-wife is listening to the radio right now.
Thanks, Jay.
She's like, you were so full, you were too full to savor the taste of the hamburger. Analogy, bitch.
I have a random question.
Yeah.
Are you playing Peter Pan tomorrow at lunch, or are you going to start that?
I'm going to start it tomorrow.
Okay.
Why? Did you want to do something else?
What is that?
No, I was just wondering if I could go off camera.
No, I made the comment that, because
what I'm showing, though, is available elsewhere if you want to watch it.
It's her birthday.
Like, if you want to not...
We
today, I'll tell you where it is and
the
stuff.
stratosphere.
I mean, anybody can watch anything they want. I'm just playing it because I found this version.
And we went out to eat, and I had a nice hamburger.
I just want you guys to see
It was one of
it.
those
But
things
yeah,
where
I'm planning on
probably
it.
should have
Okay.
left.
I just wasn't sure if you were going to start it tomorrow or like Tuesday or...
Tuesday we want to have an ITS meeting, so
Oh,
I want to
yeah.
start it tomorrow.
I am more concerned about how full I am than how good the hamburger was. It was a damn good hamburger.
Where'd you go?
Where did I go? Sugar Factory?
The Sugar Factory.
At Paris? Yeah. Nice. Well, I want to. When we come back, I want to find out, if anyone's ever seen a show that was so bad because of just the overt. I'll ask the question.
That's a good one.
Because there is that limit, and I'm sure you guys have seen productions that were just like, really, the entire thing in fat suits. They did that for Hairspray to a con. For Mr. Pinky's, they all had the big.
Hi, this is Heidi Blickenstaff from Title Show. You're listening to Curtain Call with Erik Ball.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Curtain Call. This is Erik Ball. We're talking with Sean Critchfield and Glenn Heath about theater and reinventing the wheel. Concept-wise, I suppose, is what I'm getting at, or creatively and there's two kind of schools of thought: the creative process of theater and putting something together as an ensemble for the sake of telling a story. Then there's the marketing that goes behind every production and how you need to actually get it out into the community so people will actually fill the seats and want to endure 2 hours of subjective storytelling. And how does that fall into place? Is it good to put Hamlet on Mars and have it be a story about some aliens and some crazy uncle alien, and is it where does that limit stretch to, and is it okay to do that? Glenn, you had an interesting thought.
Well, yeah, during the break, I posed the question, and I posed it actually on the air. Have you seen a show that was Hamlet on Mars and was just so much immersed in concept that you couldn't sit and watch it? I mean, we talk about it in theory, but has anyone ever seen something? And
you have to understand, I'm a visual person, so I think in analogies. Here's what I always say. Sometimes shows, it's kind of like I know directors who are very into the spectacle, who are into the Seussical is coming up with Ragtag. It's very easy to take a show like Seussical and make it about the boldness of the characters and the starchness of the poetry behind what they're trying to do, rather than what they're trying to do, and make it very colorful and clown-like and very in your face and stuff like that. But I equate it to being like directors who like to hold sparklers. Everybody likes sparklers because it draws attention. There's something about it that's fun and bright and colorful and dangerous, and sometimes directors like to hold those sparklers really close to an audience's face and say, look at this, wow! But it's not about the sparkler, it's about the 4th of July. You know what I mean? And this can be a part of it, but it's not about this. It's about the 4th of July, and how does this fit in? This fits in because we're celebrating something. What are we celebrating, and how does that fit into the holiday and where we're at and what we're doing? So it's kind of like, I think when we're talking about shows that I've seen overwrought with concept, I think immediately spectacle. You know what I mean? Who gets so wrapped up into spectacle that they forget that we're telling a story here, that we need to allow somebody to process and devour for themselves. The only time I ever recall leaving a show or not liking a show is at the Croswell Opera House years and years and years ago in Michigan, and we saw a production of Noises Off, which happens to be one of my favorite shows, plays. And I just remember it. It's a very technical show. It's a very hard show because you have to have an ensemble that will listen to one another and trust one another. Gosh, it's a hard show. It's a hard show.
It's 3 shows.
It really is.
It's 3 shows.
And this particular cast, I could tell from the second they stepped on stage, there was something going on between them. That there was very little trust going on, and a lot of technical faux pas, and they lost lines and came back to that scene, and it was
you can't do that with that show.
It was a segmented, fragmented mess. It was a hot mess, and at intermission, I did leave, and that's
that's a bad production. That's not somebody they didn't set.
Can I tell you something?
Did they set it on Mars?
No, can I tell you something though? It was a unbelievable set. Unbelievable. It was very, very over the top and I was fascinated by it.
Was it cartoonish? Or?
No. Just lush.
Okay.
Very lush. Everything was very lush, and then the Croswell Opera House does beautiful shows. They're known for that. They're known for doing great shows. So it's like I was so thrilled to go and see it, and I think that kind of the poshness in approaching the technical side of it. I think the story and the characters and
they were hoping that the set was so beautiful
I don't
that
know.
you forget you were.
I just
watching
remember that I attribute that a great deal to the spectacle of the storytelling. How about you?
Well, I'm gonna jump into the deep end of my own personal pool here and hope that people aren't listening. We're gonna go and leave some names out, and if anyone who is involved in this production is listening, I apologize in advance. Please feel free to give me a call and we can discuss this face to face over pistols at dawn. So I was in a production of Moby Dick, and it was a few years ago, and
the musical?
Yeah, exactly. No, it was this rewriting, and I'm actually a big fan. It's a lesser known playwright, and I'm a big fan of his work. This was not one of my favorite things that he had done. The idea was that Ishmael had gone back to Queequeg's tribe to tell them the story of how Queequeg died, so that Queequeg could be buried as a warrior in his culture. And then it kind of had this. This idea where as the story unfolded, Ishmael would walk up, a la like Man of La Mancha. He would approach someone and make someone a character. And I was in this production, and we had these costumes where, I was in this kind of skirt, and then we would lift it up and pin it up, and there would be denim on the underside with whalebone and things like that. That part was really neat. And it was this raked stage, and there was not a person of any ethnicity at all in our cast, save for Ahab. So it was a bunch of white guys in grass skirts pretending to be Polynesian. So right there, we're up against we're kind of up against it, yeah. And then it was 3 acts and 3 hours long, and it was basically a monologue play. It was just these monologue after monologue after monologue. They would break into a short scene, back into monologue, and we would watch people fall asleep in the house. And we were backstage, and there was a lot of times that we would look at each other and just be like, "We're in that show." And so I think the show, it wasn't that they had put a concept on an existing show. It was a show that was written with a new concept, and that didn't work for me. And I think that...
well, I would argue that that's almost technical, though. As far as the formula of writing a play, if you're sitting down to write a musical, Andrew Lloyd Webber just did a revision of The Wizard of Oz that's playing in the West End. And he rewrote and worked on... the pre-existing musical script. Frankly, he said because he loves the American fairy tale of Wizard of Oz. He's always loved it, and he's always hated the musical because basically all they did was take the movie and put it to the stage, which is wrong. Everybody knows that's wrong. And he says you're missing a great villain song. You're missing an opening number that's just boom catches you, and you're missing a this, and you're missing a that, according to the musical formula.
Did he get hold of Stephen Schwartz and say, how'd you do it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was respond to that. But the idea of that is, I find that interesting. I mean, was it better accepted? Well, the reviews would argue it was accepted. But was it gloriously accepted? Well, has anybody else anticipated the arrival of the new adaptation of Wizard of Oz on Broadway anytime soon? Well, not really. So it's kind of like the formula of writing a good musical is I would argue, is probably only in existence in however anybody treats it. It's like, so I might argue that problem might have stemmed from, formula over concept, or I don't know. I mean, what would you say? If it was written in a more episodic way, or do you think it would have survived better for that particular audience?
I think it could come back to the writing. But the thing is that he was trying to stay true to the book, and that was where it failed, because it's a different beast. Like, I'm sorry, but I read the book when I was doing the role, and there's pages and pages and pages of how to carve up a whale. You know what I mean? It's not... It's a book that has withstood the test of time, and sometimes I wonder why.
So, it's really heavy, and no one wants to carry it out of the library.
Exactly. They keep it on shelves to relocate dislocated arms.
You do.
Is there a type of structure of play that is more akin to being manipulated in that? So I would say Shakespeare is the one, and it's been done a lot. And I've never walked out of a production. I've been to a number, and I love my insurgent brethren, but there's been a few Insurgo productions of Shakespeare shows. It's just like, that's overly gratuitous. Why am I seeing that? But I've been involved in some shows that had it too.
Can I tell you though? I would say that Insurgo did a great job of honing on their audience base though. And that's what a theater company's job is.
That's location too.
Location, and I would
where,
argue
where
that
you are. I mean, the Onyx Theater is going to have some more risque shows because their audience base knows that that's what that theater's going to do.
Signature hones in on the Sun City.
Yeah, you would never get the Insurgo doing a production at the Summerlin Library. Sorry, never happened.
Yeah.
It certainly won't happen now. But I'm wondering if Shakespeare is just that, and it's been done in film as well. And I love Midsummer Night's Dream, the movie version that was done with Kevin Kline's Michelle Pfeiffer. Was that who it was? I love that version, and it's actually one of my favorite Shakespeare productions. And that's the one that I remember Insurgo doing, that there was just a lot of gratuitous nudity and sexual violence, which I get because there's some aspects of...
well, you do a lot of Shakespeare. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of... I mean, do you think that it's a choice, it's a creative choice, or is it something that they're because, I say that the art of storytelling also is from the individual's perception. It's like we used the example last week of if you're driving down the highway and you see an automobile accident on the side of the road, you go home and tell your significant other, oh, there's this dreadful accident, there was glass all over the highway, I'm surprised that I don't have a flat tire, I'm surprised, blah, blah. But then the other person who drove by will go by and say, those sirens were so loud, I couldn't hear myself think. Same accident, different perception of the accident. So it's kind of like storytelling can be told different ways, but where does it get out of control? I mean, it's Shakespeare.
Well, I want to say initially that I'm not targeting Insurgo by any stretch, but they are the forerunners were the forerunners in town of people that were producing.
Sure. Yeah.
They were the most prolific with Shakespeare's work.
Yeah.
So and they did some wonderful.
They did some great stuff.
Love's Labour's Lost was fantastic.
Yeah. Early on, there is one show that I figure there was something lost in the concept. I think that, and I don't want to take away from the performances. There were some remarkable performances
we're just talking
in it. But they did a Hamlet years and years and years ago when they first launched, where they cast Katrina Larson in the role of Hamlet.
That's right.
And I would have been okay with it being a cross-gender cast, but what they did was they made it that Katrina was taken as an infant child, as a girl, taken to Wittenberg, raised as a boy, taught to hide the fact that she was a woman, and then was brought back to Germany. So on top of everything else, what is arguably one of the most complex plays ever written, you've added a whole nother dynamic to it and made it even more convoluted. And I think that was overkill. I mean, granted, there was some great stuff that came out of it, like Frailty, Thy Name is Woman, and the whole thing with Ophelia, you know what I mean? And there's always that question of Horatio and Hamlet, that was answered,
And that's, I think that's the one thing that I love about Shakespeare, is because the language can be played with so much, which is something you can't do with Tennessee Williams. The language is pretty straightforward with that. But Shakespeare, you can play around with that, because I don't know how many actors actually can do Shakespearean iambic pentameter, so sometimes the language gets played with to where it doesn't flow in that poetical structure.
I was just going to say, because I always view the language as poetry, and poetry is conceptualized and perceived and then interpreted. You know what I mean? And that's why I like doing Shakespeare, is because it's I don't know, before you even say the words, thinking about what you're going to do, as you say it, is empowering.
See, the flip side of that for me is that I think that there's sometimes that you can give too much reverence to the words. That you can give too much reverence.
It's
to
about
the text.
saying the words.
I think that you need to respect the verse. I absolutely do. But I think that sometimes it's just there for text clues. It's just there for which word should you be hitting. Why is this word important? How, what is the meter? Therefore, what cadence is it showing you in the lines? And I think that all of those things are there, and then I think there's a point when you just need to abandon it, and you just need to just say it from the crotch, Say it from the gut, say it from the brain, from the heart.
Right.
And sometimes that isn't going to stick to the rigors of that. And I think that where I would justify that is that I don't think if Shakespeare were here today and everyone was telling him that, he's the greatest writer in the English language, that he would agree with them. I think he'd be laughing. I think that he'd be like, really? And this is a guy who's like...
Did you read that piece of crap Hamlet?
There are more off-color jokes in Shakespeare's work than in 90% of the stuff that's being put out today. When I do segments in high schools, the first thing I do on Shakespeare is I hold up Taming of the Shrew and I say that the Clark County School District would not let you read this if they knew what was in here. And so this is a guy who didn't want people, in my opinion, to always savor the language and chew the verse. I think that he wanted people to be body and
he even he made up words too. Whoever Shakespeare was, but made up words that we are now taken
and expressions as well.
That at the time is like what
it's so funny how Shakespeare's viewed as this kind of classic, iconic. Oh, Shakespeare, so important, and Moliere is body. They're kind of both the same school. It really is if you think about it. I mean, I don't know, and it's so true because when we were doing Romeo and Juliet, it was like at Faith Lutheran they were talking about how I don't know, because the middle schoolers, it deals with suicide. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can pull up all the reading lists of all the country schools in the middle school, and it's reading. It's on the reading list. It's like I don't think people realize that it's just like dealing with the same things we're dealing with today.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is.
I think Michael Kim is a local theater teacher in town. He's now at Cimarron, actually.
Yeah.
And he used to be at Legacy, I think, before that. And he approached his faculty, his staff, and he said, I want to do Scottish play. And they were like, oh no, that's bloody. And no. And they're like, why don't you do something else? Like maybe Romeo and Juliet. And he's like, you don't want to do Scottish play, but you want to do the one that's about gang violence, teenage promiscuity, suicide. Yeah, okay, we'll do that one instead. Which I thought was a great point.
It's so funny.
I love how you say Scottish play. Is that a habit?
It is. It's here's
superstition or
no. Here's my stance on that.
Okay.
I get asked that a lot. I believe that we as actors are a subculture, and I believe that as a subculture we have our own traditions and our own rituals and rites and customs.
Sure.
And I believe that I am proud to be part of that subculture. And there's a part of me that likes the fact that we have our own rituals and our own rites and our own customs. So I don't
it's not,
necessarily believe in it.
and knowing you well enough, I know it's not an elitist philosophy.
No, it's a communal
I'm an
philosophy.
actor, so I will say Scottish play.
Yeah, and it's
Can I tell you what I relate to that with? It's about respecting theater, respecting the piece. It's so funny. One of the we just wrapped with Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Very different from the Scottish play, and
also very different from the traditional
workings
of that show.
And while I don't believe in superstitions, and while I don't have like I wear the same socks every day because those are my game-winning socks, or something. I don't believe in that hooey. I don't.
I've seen your socks.
Yeah, and I shared a dressing
socks.
room with you for Joseph. Those were the same socks.
Those are the same socks. No, but I do believe in this though. I remember the opening night, my ritual of preparing for the show. I walked to the end of the stairs that brought you upstairs to the stage right side of the stage, and I just stood there for a moment, just kind of collecting myself. And I remember that the first few piano bars of the opening overture started, and I went, okay, here we go. And I walked up the stairs there. Every night from then, I didn't want to go upstairs until I heard those bars of music. And I promised myself that I would poise myself at the end of the stairs until those bars of music would start, and then I would go.
That's why you were standing there.
Yeah, it's not because it's a superstition. It's not because of anything like that. I can't explain it. It's more just, I think if I had to analyze it, I found some sort of niche with the piece, and my offering in the piece, and it was my respect to the piece to continue forward with the same high level of expectation of myself to provide into it.
Was it some sort of moment that you were just kind of in an enlightened moment?
No, it wasn't anything special. It really wasn't. It just, for some reason, that particular thing in the process of my doing the show stayed true the entire time. And I think it's akin to what you're saying.
No, I agree. I think so too. I think that if you want to pare it down to bare bones, like first of all, I will say that I did a tour with Utah Shakespeare Festival of the Scottish Play, and I saw weird stuff happen. So I'm not gonna. The jury is still out for me as to whether or not it's a superstition of mine. But that's not why I do it. More importantly, I think that if you want to just pare it down to bare bones, if I walked into a group of people that I felt I belonged to, and that group of people, the general consensus was that they don't want you to eat Skittles around them. And even if there's 3 or 4 people who are opposed to that idea, when I'm there, when I'm with them, I'm going to refrain from eating Skittles because I don't want to upset someone.
Right.
And there are people who take that curse very seriously. Yeah. And I don't want to throw off another actor's process over one word.
And can I tell you something? That's where the idea of that relationship between actor and director or creative team versus on-stage team, that trust factor comes into play. And why when I talk about high school theater, it's starting from ground zero. It's starting from ground zero every rehearsal, every time. Because then you will have that one student who will parade through the thing, yelling the word and do it over and over again. Why? Because it elicited a reaction the first time. So, oh my gosh, now I got my attention that I so want. And so it's like...
And then he mysteriously falls and breaks his leg.
Yeah, or they grab their torches and go volt. But the thing is, it's a different... You're right. It comes down to ensemble again. It's so funny how theater... It manifests itself, because you can do the best show in the world, but if you don't have a great ensemble, it's not going to be a lasting, creative, memorable piece.
And you get that having done a number of shows, and you guys have done them as well, where you're like 3 days out from opening, and you're just wondering how this is going to ever get to where it needs to be, and then it just does, and there's that
materializes.
Yeah, and call it the magic of theater, call it that ensemble that finally all gets in that cohesive, what we would call in improv the group mind,
right?
Where we're all at that higher level of thinking to where everything I know where you. I know
Yeah.
what's. Yes.
What's interesting is I witnessed that firsthand with the production that I worked with Glenn on, where we were a few days out. We had a series of major train wrecks in Assassins. A series, like losing spaces to rehearse in, like stuff that was beyond our control.
Yeah.
Came in with this a great rehearsal schedule that a week into it was thrown out, and it turned into fly by the seat of my pants. And as a director, I don't like to do that.
Yeah.
We had
That's
a couple
not
of
my
music directors.
Yeah,
and you know, I'm glad you're doing well, but you know.
Yeah, I had some health issues during the process. So it was one thing after the other, and that's not my typical process. I don't like the 3 days out my actors are going, what's going to happen? So it was interesting to also say, okay, I've built an ensemble that loves and trusts each other. For the most part. We, every group is going to have some dynamics that collide. But for the most part, even with the personality differences, everyone in that cast loved and trusted each other. And there came a point when, as a director, I said, okay, I've been telling them that will get us through this entire time, and now it's my turn to step into that ensemble and trust that it's going to happen. And reviews aside, we played to sold-out audiences every night with brilliant word of mouth.
Yeah, I saw it. It was really quite good.
Thank you.
And can I tell you something? I'm very critical of Sondheim because I love Stephen Sondheim, and especially Assassins. I did a scene study with the booth moment, in college, and so I grew to really like that musical. And so I thought it was good. And you could see that. I think it's all about the ensemble. Coming back and finding to it's like a buffet. Everything deserves to be on the buffet, but not everything is going to mix taste. I must be hungry.
Do you think that ensemble, that magic of the ensemble transcends the spectacle of a show?
Yeah,
can it?
I think unless
can it surpass the gimmick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think anything you do as a cohesive creative ensemble, you can tell anything. Peter and the Starcatcher is a perfect example. I mean, they told a giant, crazy, spectacled story the simplest way they could possibly say, and it was brilliant. If you don't have that cohesive storytelling movement, it's not going to serve what you're trying to communicate.
So basically what you're saying is that if the group of actors comes to trust in the show, which is what Sean is saying,
and each other,
then anything is possible.
I would argue.
Yes, and I think
regardless if it's Hamlet on Mars and the whole cast believes in that story and wants to tell that story, as long as they all believe in that, you can't fail.
Yeah, I think to tie it in even further, the other thing
Hamlet on Mars.
Yeah.
Next week.
Awesome.
I think so.
One-man show. It's my concept.
Are you going to be Marvin the Martian?
Perhaps. We are not we. That sounded like Kermit.
Alas, poor Erik, plutonium-3 people.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think we're getting to the point to where we should probably think about reorganizing our thoughts just a little bit and go back to square one and say, is it right or wrong to screw with something that's already been done, tried and true a certain way?
I think I cut Sean off because he was going to make a comment on something, and I Marvined the Martian out of him.
It was a really simple point another thing that happens when you build that ensemble, when you get that sense of ensemble with whether or not we'll succeed or fail, is when you get people trusting each other and listening. We had one situation where we had an actress who openly admitted that she had not done much dramatic work. She'd done a lot of opera, and she'd done a lot of cabaret and performances like that, but she'd never really had a chance to do any dramatic work, and she was in a scene with Glenn. Mm-hmm. And I facilitated an opportunity for them to listen, and then I let Glenn bring the performance out of her. And he did. Glenn disturbed his own piece, and by disturbing his own piece in that scene, he in turn disturbed her piece.
Right.
And by the end of it, they were both crying. And they should be. It was appropriate to the scene, and it was beautiful. It was lovely to watch. And I think that came from a place of my actors trusted me, and they trusted each other, and they respected what we were doing. And that's it. It was the workshop that I did with your kids. That's exactly what I went for.
In the simplest, breaking that down in the simplest form, I encourage my students in the audition process, because if you talk about auditions and you don't know who you're going to be reading with, you don't know the circumstances, the conditions of the time that you're auditioning, you don't know. But one of the truest most supportive things that you can do for yourself, but also for the person that you're reading with, be it a reader or somebody else, is look them in the eye. Because if you look them in the eye during your reading a scene together, if for some reason it's like tying a rope around each other's waists and connecting you to. It really does. And I'm a big believer in that, because it's something so simple and something so important. And because, again, go back to where we are today, breaking down society and what society tells us to do. It's not normal for people to look people in the eye anymore. It isn't.
Well, and that's one of the basic foundations within improv as well. That before you even utter a word in a scene, and it's not about it's about the relationship of those characters in that moment. It's not about, oh, look at these wonderful props that I'm pulling out of thin air, but making that eye contact. And that's really good in audition process, especially if you're not paired off with a reader, because you can get that emotional. If I look into somebody's eyes, I can go, oh, I see where they kind of are right now, and I can either play to that or play counter to it. And
it forces them into a situation. It's like,
but it also gives you a starting point.
Another thing I was taught, in movement and in physicality, you're either pushed somewhere or you're pulled somewhere, and that emotionally connects you to the point to where if I do something, I'm going to either push you with that or I'm going to pull you towards me with that. And that it just connects you without having to be physical. I mean,
yin and yang. It's love hate. I think it's good bad.
I agree. I think we're all approaching this in the same way, just in different perspectives, And I think
Glenn's
my coach,
right.
exactly. Mine's a Parkway. No, but my acting coach, he would say, if you want to be brilliant on stage, be a giving actor and do everything you can to make your scene partner look brilliant.
Right.
The second that you no longer concern yourself with your own performance, and you concern yourself with making your scene partner look brilliant, that's when you shine. Nothing is going to take you out of your own head more than that. And it's something that I rely on, and it's something I try to instill in them. I think it's hysterical that it's going to come down to the initial question we were talking about.
Yeah.
Is going to be like an America's Got Talent thing. What do you think, Sean? No.
I think it's a no. Thanks for coming. But yeah, and it's one of those questions that probably can't be answered. It's probably one of those questions that's going to be kind of up to the individual to kind of come up with the definition.
But it made for a good conversation.
Yeah, it sure did. And as you're as an individual, if you're looking forward to going and seeing Bye Bye Birdie over at the Horn Theater at College of Southern Nevada, or if you're a student looking forward to the first day of school tomorrow and the possibilities of their theater program and what they're going to be able to offer you this year, or if you're somebody in the community who's looking forward to sitting down and watching some captivated theater, whatever your position is, I think you might agree with it comes down to the story and how the story is told. If you have a team of people who are willing and able to tell a good story and have fun doing it, because it should be either entertaining or educational, and if it's both, huzzah. So it's like one of those things where so long as you're willing to go for a ride, if you have people who are competent drivers and willing to kind of work together to navigate this story, you're going to be enjoying the journey. Whether or not it gets you where you want to go, it's up to the story to tell. But so it's a very, very hard idea to kind of flesh out, I suppose, in an hour. But yeah. So and hopefully down the road we'll have an opportunity to talk more about stuff like this. We're hoping to kind of steer Curtain Call's formula into more of a theme oriented week by week program where we spend the first hour maybe talking current events and having a guest on the show and kind of highlighting what's coming up with them, and then the second hour talking about the issues of theater in general, and how they relate to the community, how they relate to the patrons, and maybe give you something to think about as you approach the next production, in it, on it, backstage, on stage.
And inviting wonderful guests that don't have anything that they're pushing, unless you have something to promote, Sean.
Am I promoting anything right now? Well, I doing the fights for Faith Lutheran, I'm doing the fights for Hamlet.
Okay. Which one?
And Troy Hurts.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, and You know, if you really, really, really want to come see me in a 60-pound Merlin costume, you can come to tournament.
Sweet.
Tournament of Kings over at Excalibur. Yeah. So thank Sean. Always a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'd love to come back on.
Yeah, you're cordially invited.
Thank you.
There it is. It's official. And for those of you listening, again, this is Curtain Call. I'm Eric Ball with Glenn Heath and Carrie Ann Parks, who's not here right now. We are on every week, every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. And you can go to YouTube and put Curtain Call with Eric Ball in the search bar. We have all of the past episodes archived there, so you can listen to all the different episodes from past shows. You can also go to Facebook and, again, search for Curtain Call with Eric Ball and like our page and kind of stay up to date with what's coming up with the shows. If you're interested in being on the show, contact us through our Facebook page. We'd love to promote your group, your event, in an upcoming episode, especially you drama teachers out there in the high school sector. As a fellow high school drama teacher, I want to get patrons in your seats and feed this wonderfully creative community that is out there. That is community theater and high school theater. It all falls under the same category, in my opinion.
I think we need to get Michael Kim out here because he's endeavoring into a very new world. So pass the word on to him.
Definitely.
I saw him the other day at our auditions.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very talented director as well. He directed Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Which was
very cool guy. So
very
I'll
good
let
show.
him know.
He's
I'll
a
pass
good
it on.
man, Charlie Brown. And so we hope to see you next week. Thank you to our producer, Chris Scott. Thank you to intern Kelly for all of her camera work. And Broadway Bounds, Michael Vojvodich and Brooke Solon. Hope to go out and see Bye Bye Birdie. Everybody go out and see Bye Bye Birdie. It's BroadwayBoundLV.com. And thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Sean.
Support the arts.
Guys, have a great week.
Listening to Curtain Call with Eric Ball.